This is the Reinforce Your Gym podcast with your host, Dustin Bogle. This show is about arming gym owners with the tools, strategies, and lessons they need to take their business to the next level. That way, they can make a greater impact in their community. Now, let's get to work and reinforce your gym.
All right, welcome in, guys, for another episode of the Reinforce Your Gym podcast. I am joined again by my wonderful co-hosts, Kim Schneider and Jason Matthias, and we're going to be talking all things marketing. So today's episode, we're really zoning in on marketing mistakes and what is just common mistakes we see gym owners doing that's making their marketing ineffective, more expensive, and just overall frustrating. And so I find that when we talk about what you should do, some people respond to that, but more people I feel like respond better to what you shouldn't do, which is why we're choosing this topic. It's just like, don't do these mistakes, tends to land better than go do these best practices. So we're going to give you the mistakes so you can learn what not to do and implement that in your marketing. So we're going to dive in, guys, because we got 7 topics to cover. So I'm going to kick us off with the first one here, which is lack of clear audience. I think this is a big mistake a lot of gym owners do because they do believe, and I believe, fitness is for everybody. So why can't we help youths and teenagers and help middle-aged people and help older adults? They're all welcome, everyone. But the truth is they all have different pain points. And you probably, can see this as people grow in age and, chronological age, they have different things they want, right? When you're younger, it's usually you're trying to get the opposite sex attention. You're trying to not be, in a place of low confidence. In high school, you want to feel good in your body. Everyone's talking about each other's all gossip, high school, and then also there's sports. You're probably playing sports. Things then change when you're like 40 and you've had kids and you're married and maybe you're not going to the gym. And now you're seeing your metabolism slow down, and then you get older and you're like, I just want my balance. I want my independence. I don't want to be put in a nursing home by my kids. These people all need fitness, but they all have different pain points. And so if your ad copy and the way you're calling out an audience doesn't speak to that pain point in that person's stage of life, they're going to disregard you, right? So we want to go in on a niche. That's why I say the riches are in the niches. You want to speak to one person's pain point. So that's why if you have, a client that you're saying, hey, my ideal client is 40 plus, and then you run an ad called Fit Over 40 or a program, isn't that going to work great? Because, again, you're clear on your audience. So things that I add in, and I'll be curious if you guys got anything you'd add in. Clear in your audience. We don't have to do gender, but obviously that's like a low hanging fruit decision. Age range, what's the age range? How close proximity wise do they live to your gym? What's their income? What are their goals? Probably the big one for me. Like, what is the goal you feel like you're uniquely qualified in helping them with? I actually don't think I'm very qualified in helping people improve their vertical leap or improving their sprint time or their marathon time. I don't think people should call me. But if they wanted to lose body fat, then that's where I feel like that's my specialty. Like, call me, I'm your guy. So it's a combination of who's that ideal customer that you want to serve mixed with your gifts and who you want to, serve. Jason, is there anything else you'd add on your clear audience checklist?
Yeah, I think the big thing is the old adage. I think we've all heard it before is that, if you try to be everything to everybody, you're nothing to nobody, right? So you really have to have that clear vision. Hopefully you've done that before, even if you're a new gym owner listening to this too. So hopefully you've been able to fill in those blanks, right? Because to really position yourself as uniqueness within your gym or really with any business is, I had an older gentleman tell me this probably a decade and a half ago before I even got into business myself he says, you better be able to write a sentence that says you're the only blank that blanks. So you better be able to fill in those underlying blanks there to make yourself unique, or else you're just like a place down the street, right? So you really have to make sure you're in that niche. And I love that. I never heard that quote before, the riches and the niches. I mean, that is, it's gold because it really comes down to us as gym owners because if you try to do everything, nothing is really getting your full attention. So really just make sure you have those couple questions answered. Like, I'm the only blank that blanks. That's one of the biggest things. But then also if you're trying to be everybody, it's something to everybody. It's just going to bog you down and you're never really going to excel at one thing. You're never going to find that niche and you're never going to get rich, right? I mean, I love that analogy is really having that just laser focus. I mean, that's what's going to stand you apart amongst any competitions. Be the only blank that blanks. Fill that sentence out before you move forward.
Love it. All right, Kim, anything else you would add on to being clear on your audience or your customer?
Yeah, I totally agree with Jason. It's like having a restaurant with too big of a menu and then no clear direction, and then your food is terrible. You have to really narrow down your offering, figure out, like you said, what is your specialty? Who is it that you help? And then the other side of that is make sure you're clearly communicating that to your digital marketer. I spoke with somebody last week who specializes in helping people over 50, and he ended up working with a marketing company who was promoting to like 20-year-olds. And it really obviously didn't work, and he got terrible results, and he was really frustrated. And, kind of in digging up it a little bit more, turns out he didn't really clearly communicate what his path is, what his goal is, and who his target market is, the way that he should have. So I think that goes on the back end as well, as just making sure you're really communicating that, have your direction, and then really go through it with your marketer.
Yes, love that. Great. And, again, leadership there, right? We know leadership's the problem, leadership's the solution. I know I, just being candid, made the mistake where I didn't forecast to our team what is our ideal customer. And then I was confused when they brought things to me, ideas that didn't fit our ideal thing. And they were like, hey, we should do, yoga class, or, we should do boxing. And I'm like, why are they coming at me with these ideas? Like, they're just thinking fitness is fitness. And I was like, oh, I didn't clearly say who we help. And every time I tried to be nice and let the team kind of test an idea and it failed miserably, I was like, guys, this is not our ideal customer. You're confusing them. They don't think of us as a yoga studio. So that we have to, know where we're strong. So that kind of attaches to the second marketing mistake. And this is unrelatable ad copy. So Jason, I know you love studying copywriting. I guess I'll let you kind of hit that first. What do you feel like is the big mistake here people make when it comes to ad copy?
Yeah, this is a perfect segue between our first topic and this one too. They almost go hand in hand, because if you don't have that clear audience in your mind of who you want to target, especially with paid marketing, is then if your ad copy is not going to relate, then you're just spinning your wheels, right? It can't be unrelatable ad copy. So you have to basically, obviously, as a middle-aged man, I'm trying to market towards middle-aged women, right? So I have to get into female mode, right? And start thinking about, problems and issues they have. But there again, as many years I have in this business too, I almost have a Rolodex of, problems and issues that my avatar is facing. So that makes it really easy for me with the experience of making sure the ad copy is relatable. But there again, I follow a lot of different gyms, a lot of different gym owners, and sometimes I read the ad copy and it's I don't want to say it's cringe, but at the same time, I was like, man, this lady is not really going to buy in to really what you're saying. It's basically, they're going to be ad blind to it, because they're going to only read those first couple bullet points and be like, that's not me. They're going to move on to the next thing, right? So you really have to make sure the ad copy is creative, but it also can't be too long. Is really something just attention grabbing that's going to have their hook. Basically, how I always say hooks in the eyes, right? You have to have hooks in the eyes to really make sure they stop and can start to read into that. But yeah, if it's unrelatable, it's never going to stop the scroll if we're looking at digital media or digital marketing. So I think that's the big thing. It's got to be something that's really going to catch attention and make sure it's going to relate to the audience. Doesn't matter what you're doing. It doesn't matter if you're training, D1 athletes or you're training 40 plus. It doesn't matter. Your ad copy has to relate to your mission and your avatar.
And I think one thing we got to also be mindful of in our world is not putting too much trainer talk, because sometimes trainers and gym owners write to impress their peers, not to attract their clients. And they'll say, look at all this lingo, look at all the initials at the end of my name. Don't you see all my certifications? And a client reads that and is like, I don't know what level 1 PN is, or CS, certified strength and conditioning coach. Like, what is this? I don't know what these letters mean. So usually owners and coaches are adding that to impress their peers, because they're the only ones that can read this. It's like hieroglyphics to a client. What are all these letters at the end of your name? And so at the end of the day, make yourself approachable, likable, relatable, and write things in simple terms. Don't get too scientific. They honestly don't care. They're not trying to write a dissertation. They're not trying to become fitness professionals themselves. They're trying to hire a solution. You do all the back end that it requires to make this very complicated fat loss process occur, but you don't need to bog them down with all the science and explain it to them. So simplify things, make things easy to understand, and that way the client wants to come on board. I'd say the biggest one I would mention that I see happening in gym is, we're going to help you lose fat. Okay, relatable. Client says yes. We're going to help you gain muscle. Biggest way to scare women away, right? Women want to be toned. We know that that's a word that they like. Us trainers hate because we're like, you can't tone it. You got to build muscle. But like, I will change and morph my language to get them to walk in. So I'll say, yeah, I'll tone your muscles. Come on in. Let's tone the glutes. We'll tone the arms. We'll tone them all day. In my mind, I'm like, we need you to pack on muscle. We need you to get stronger. We need you to lift heavier. And again, I'm not going to put that on because I know my clients will go running, because you probably have both heard it. They're like, I just don't want to get too bulky. I don't want too much muscle. And I'm like, well, I'm glad that, again, you think you have the Rock's genetics and you're just going to lift for a week and get too jacked. I've been working on it for years and I'm not there. So it's like, it's probably not going to happen to you, Mrs. Jones. We laugh, we know, but we also know the science, we know the world. They don't. And so we have to write it in a simple way, relatable, so that, person walks in. Again, I know we're all from the same cloth, which is usually middle-aged women trying to lose fat. So if you're a gym that's not in that camp, I want you to just hear what we're saying and say, how does this apply to me, right? It might be different. So Kim, anything else we can do to make the ad copy more relatable, like words or just phrases?
Yeah, for sure. I think kind of piggybacking off of what you were saying, also not making over exaggerated claims. So, like telling people that they can lose an extreme amount of weight in a short amount of time. It just obviously is going to come across as unrealistic, and then it makes your gym just look insincere or like you're trying to deceive people. So really, being realistic when it comes to making those kind of claims, so that you don't end up with that negativity associated with your gym, like, oh, these people are just trying to pull me in, because people really do see right through that kind of thing.
Yeah, especially how much marketing is out there these days. People will see right through it. All right, well, let's go to strategy, or I should say mistake number 3. Mistake number 3 is having zero patience with your paid marketing strategy, meaning I put money in, where's my leads, where's my sales, I want it now. And we kind of can throw a fit like a toddler. Gimme, I want what I want and I want it now. But the truth is that this is not going to serve you. It's not going to help your agency. If you're working with an agency, it's not going to help your gym grow. There's really just no place for it. I know most business owners are a D on the DISC personality, which means they're driven, they're results oriented. They want to see things happen. They want it now. They have no patience. This is something where you're going to need to fight a little bit of your natural proclivity. But at the end of the day, marketing is a game of testing, and you're going to need to give testing time, right? And I'd love to load an ad up and it gives you instant feedback and immediately tells you. But the way Facebook has set this thing up is it needs a learning phase, which is 2 to 3 days for it to show it on feeds and to see, does anybody like this? And what's crazy is people can be frustrated if that first learning phase doesn't go in their favor. But the truth is, if we're doing it, at least in our agency, we have ran that exact ad copy and at another gym and it was successful. We don't want to try new things on your account. We want to put proven things in. So we are loading a proven ad copy, but sometimes for whatever reason, your market doesn't bite on it. There isn't as much interest. And so we have to then go to the drawing board and say, okay, well, we have the version 2 that we think is going to work, and version 3 and version 4, and we have that all loaded, but each one can take 2 to 3 days to learn. I know that could be frustrating for an owner to hear that this could take 2 weeks until we find my winning ad copy. It could take 3 weeks and I'm paying you guys and the results are there. I get it. I'm frustrated just as much as frustrated you are, but you have to learn that with marketing, this is not an instant, kind of like result type of thing. That's my 2 cents on that. I guess, Jason, how do you talk to people about trying to help them with their patience on marketing?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. I know when we were prepping for this call here, Dustin, we put this list together, and zero patience, I seen myself in that one. Even this many years in, I still fall victim to this one, right? So it's not like I'm some superior gym owner. I fall victim to this bullet point too, right? So zero patience. One thing I found very common among most gym owners, especially when we look at doing marketing services for them or lead follow-up services, I see there's a direct correlation between how much patience they have and how many profits they have, right? Because if profit levels are high, business is good, they have a ton of patience. But if they are basically a paycheck to paycheck type gym, profits are low, EFT is low, they're struggling, the patients are just as low because they need things performed right now. So sometimes when we see profits, it's a little bit lower, EFT is just a little bit lower. Summertime's a good example. I think gym owners have much less patience now, especially in the summertime or even holiday time, is because they need a quicker return on investments. We all fall in that trap of our patience sometimes is a direct result of our profits, right? So we need to keep that mindset keep the patience high, like you just mentioned with Facebook Learning, is let that patience set in, let it run its course, because we know we're a back end business, right? Everybody listening to this podcast is, if you're a gym owner, you know we're a back end business, right? So patience means we're planting seeds, even if we're just running giveaway lead ads. Like, it doesn't matter. You're still planting those seeds for, future harvest or future EFT. But that's the big thing is never let your profits dictate how much patience you have. Have patience with marketing, because that's how you're going to really, like I said, reap that long term.
Yeah. And I think I heard it said that patience, like who's to say if someone has more patience than the other? What it really comes down to is who can better distract themselves, right? Like for one person, they put money in the stocks and they just get busy with something. They work on a business for 10 years and they come back to the stocks like, oh my God, look at what I've done. And then another person is not distracted. They're checking it daily. They're refreshing their app. How's my stocks doing? How's my stocks doing? And they're losing their patience. Like, I need to sell. I need to trade. And then they don't make that big benefit because they're not working on something else. So my advice I'd give someone is you're probably impatient because you're looking at the ads daily. Find something else useful for you to do while the team figures this out, right? Like, go launch a referral campaign. Go call past members. Internally audit your members and ask them what you can do better. You need to find something else to work on that's also productive. If you hired a good agency, then they care about it, or you're running your own ads, but you can't fast forward the speed at which they learn. So you might as well do something else that's useful with your time. That's literally like a quantifiable way to be patient, is to be distracted with something else, useful. Kim, any advice you give to people that you see are struggling with their patience?
Yeah, so this is a conversation that I have a lot with gym owners, especially those coming on board with us for marketing, is trying to set up expectations and letting them know that things are going to take a little while to get rolling. And especially people who haven't done Facebook advertising before, is really telling them why, right? Like, ad campaigns need time to gather data in order to optimize. So letting them know, if you're constantly changing up your ads too much, you're pulling them and putting them back up, you're actually preventing the algorithm from learning. And then that's just going to be wasted ad spend. So I try to tell them why we're asking them to have patience, why we're telling them that, let it rock for a few weeks, so that they really, understand why we're seeing these things, for sure.
I think that you said setting expectations, because I think that's the other thing. If I expect the ads to work in 24 hours, of course I'm going to be fine. Yeah. But if you say, hey, we need 1 week, maybe 2, now you're giving me kind of front-loaded patience because you're setting that timeline, further out. So I think setting expectations really helps people have more patience too. So that's a good point. All right, we'll go to number 4. So the fourth marketing mistake is, this kind of goes right in with paid ads, is not having organic marketing strategies to supplement your paid ads. So you're just dependent on paid ads, essentially. Like, you're dependent on your Facebook ads. If they're not working, your business is crippled. But we both, or all three of us, know we need to have an organic strategy activated at all times. And so, like, what is organic? Ideas I'll give you guys, like content. Are you posting content? Unfortunately, most owners aren't posting content. It's really weird. Their content muscles are very atrophied. And when I look at online coaches, their whole business depends on content. They're posting content sometimes twice a day, because like, that's the only way I feed my business. The only way I get new clients as an online coach. They're posting tons of content, but they're doing it from a different place. I feel like one thing I do borrow from the online coaches world is they're always posting problem-solving content. Like, hey, is your knees aching? Let me show you how to squat differently. Hey, here's my favorite Ninja Creamy recipe when you got a sweet tooth. Hey, when you go to Costco, here's my exact shopping list. They're always just giving plenty of valuable data. And most of the time, gym owners, if you look at their feed, they're just posting offers. Hey, we're running a special. Who wants to sign up? Hey, special promo, come on in. And so I say, like, we need to borrow from the online coaches world a little bit more. We need to put more content up that solves problems for free, because when people subscribe, follow, save, they'll look to you as authority. And when they finally do want to join a gym, you're the first gym that comes to mind. They're like, oh, I follow them online. I love all their content. And most gyms just, again, struggle to get content up. So like, that's organic and it can be done free. Second would be, are you doing any type of signage around your gym? Something that gets people's attention. And that's not only exterior, I also say interior. You can have posters in the gym where you're selling things to members, supplements, you're joining the member challenge. Hey, bring your friend in for Friends and Family Week. All that signage could be in the gym, and then you can have outside the gym. banners, you can have sandwich boards, you could put, flyers up, like things like this, where you're basically trying to get more people from organic strategies. There's a ton other that we teach inside of our program, but I'll let you guys kind of lead in with some ideas as well. Jason, what is something that you kind of talk about with organic marketing to owners?
Yeah, I like the analogy that a lot of gym owners too, like you said, their muscles kind of atrophy, like they forget or they get nervous or they don't know how to create copy. I talk about copy. I mean, to me, that's a Facebook post, that's social media. Is they think they have to, okay, now I have to make the social media post. Okay, now I have to figure out how to write an email. Now, what kind of copy or what kind of basically post do I put on my business Facebook pages? It's like they think it all has to be separate, but it doesn't. Write just one simple long form copy that would typically be like email format. Once you have that idea, then basically all I got to do is just kind of chop it into small chunks and repurpose that one piece of content over social media platforms. So if you want to talk about, what's a good email, write an email about hip and knee mobility. Great topic. Absolutely amazing, right? What's the subject line? Do your hips crack? Or does it sound like Rice Krispies when you go downstairs? Something to get them to open the email. And then you can talk about tips and strategies with hip and knee mobility. And now, boom, now you can grab sections of that out, go over to your Facebook page, put it on there, personal page, put it on there, an image of you, doing one of the stretches, right? So don't think you have to create so much content to really get your organic marketing going. Just sit down and do one topic a week, right? Just lock yourself in a room for 1 hour and just write something about, in this example, mobility, because I know you have the knowledge because you have all those acronyms after your name, right? So you have the knowledge, write that long 4 pieces of copy and then use it over 1 or 2 weeks. And then next quarter, you can repurpose the same content. Nobody's ever going to remember that back in January talking about hip mobility. Fire it up in July again, because you're going to catch a new person who's going to get value from that. So I think the big thing is don't think you have to create, 5 different pieces of content. Do one and then chunk it apart. It's so much easier to do. And I have so many tips and tricks. If anyone needs help with it, just reach out.
Yeah. Organic. I mean, it's content. It's also leveraging Google. Where do you rank on Google? Are you getting reviews? Are you posting on your Google so that you come up higher? Because there's search traffic going to Google every day. How much are you getting? Well, it depends on how many reviews you have and how active you are on your Google. And again, that's just free and making it a system that you're doing it every week. You got referrals. Referrals are organic. Those aren't going to come necessarily from paid ads. You can run a referral campaign. You also got local Facebook groups. I know multiple gym owners that they get a steady stream of trials and new members from being an engaged member of their local Facebook group. We're talking groups where people are talking about community news or selling things, but people often go in there and raise their hand and say, hey, I'm looking to hire a trainer. Anybody know a good one? Hey, I'm looking for a gym. And people will tag, and your members are probably in there going to tag you. But where I would want you to come in is be speed to lead and DM that person and make them an offer and get them on a call and being that person that I'll be there for you, right? Like when we all have an emergency in other services, the fastest one wins. My AC is broken. Who's the quickest guy that can get out here? My roof is leaking. Who's the fastest roofer? Well, fitness, I finally hit that number on the scale and I'm sick of it. Who's the fastest person that could DM me? That gym's going to win the business. So being in local Facebook groups, these are all just organic strategies that, again, we want to leverage. Kim, what else do you kind of talk to gym owners about when they're feeling like they're a little too dependent on paid ads and they need to kind of swing more towards organic?
Yeah, so you hit it on the head. When I think of organic marketing, I usually tell owners, think about your individual community. What kind of events are rolling? How do people normally find out about businesses? What can you get involved in so that the community, knows you're there? Because not everybody's on Facebook, not everybody's online, especially if you have a gym that's geared towards maybe older people. Maybe they're not on, I have clients that aren't on Facebook at all. So it's what community events can you really get to be a part of? Also, something that a lot of people don't think about is connecting with other businesses, especially if you're in an area where there's multiple businesses around. Can you talk to them? Can you, co-host an event? That's something we're going to do in the next couple of months, is have a pop-up. We have clients with businesses. That's another great resource where you can market each other's businesses. But we're going to have a pop-up where we're just going to invite other businesses to come in, set up a table. It'll be a community event. And then what else in your community is going on? I know where we are in New York, there's lots of street fairs and things happening. So, trying to get a table there, making a wheel that they can spin where they do push-ups or squats or something to make it really fun. But really just how can you get out there in your community? Because really just relying on paid ads is only one piece of the puzzle. You want to really get clients as many ways as possible, through referral, through community events, and through building connections, with other people and with other business owners.
Gym owners, let's be real. You don't love lead follow-up, and that's why I started Gym Reinforcement, so you can pass it over to us, because that's probably not why you started a gym. That's not what you love to do in business, is to chase leads down all day long. Well, hey, hand that over to me and my team of remote sales reps. We're going to text them, call them, email them, social media, DM them. We're going to do all the channels so that you don't got to worry about it, and they're going to get reached out to quickly. And that is what we do at Gym Reinforcements. Now, here's the thing. There's a lot of AI and bots and automations out there that can reach out to your leads, but let's be honest, it's not very good, and people could tell right away. You probably would rather to have human to human customer service from start to finish, meaning from when they opt in to when they get serviced by your coaches. We want to have that exist throughout the whole client journey. So let us step in, let us engage your leads, let us sell them for you. And that way you can do what you do best and serve them and get them results. So if you want to book a call, go to gymreinforcements.com and we'll talk soon. Yes. Love it. All right. Well, we'll move on. We got our fifth mistake we see owners make. And this also is linked to Facebook ads. And this is ignoring your ads metrics. I would say you could even change it from ads metrics to ignoring your marketing metrics, because one thing I'll kind of layer in here is, what is your lead sources? Are you tracking them accurately? Because I bet most owners would be pleased to find that people are coming from a variety of places. You got referrals, you got walk-ins, you got your paid ads, you got someone that found your website, you got someone that Googled you. But if you're not tracking your sources, you don't know where to put your money. You don't know what's working. And sometimes you can just get tunnel vision and say, well, they all must have came from my paid ads, right? And so you don't know. And what's interesting is that people don't make this correlation, is that when they turn on ads, like let's say they had their ads off and then they turn it on, suddenly they're getting more phone calls, more people are walking in, more people are driving by their gym. And they're like, oh, well, that's because people know where we're at. Or, like our phone number is easy to find on our website. It's like, no, people don't realize when you have your ad, maybe someone got busy and they just made a note of the name of your gym, and then they'll Google you later and they'll pull, or like, oh, I see where they're at. I'm going to stop by there on my way home. And so all these like indirect spiderweb actions happen, but your ads were like the basis of it. So that's why it's so important. Like even what they tell you where they found you might have not been the first time. That might have been the seventh time where they finally decided to take action. Maybe they got an email, maybe they saw an ad, maybe they drove by, and then finally their friend said, you got to check it out. We're doing Friends and Family Week. And when they come in, you say, hey, how'd you hear about us? Well, my friend invited me to Friends and Family Week. They heard about you 4 other times. That was just the one that they activated them, right? So it's still valuable to track your lead sources, because it's good feedback to you. Where do my customers come from, right? You're probably guessing if you don't track, and that's never a good way to run a business, right? So like we want to get it down to the source. So that's the first metric a lot of owners ignore. The second is getting a little bit more granular understanding of all your data inside of your Facebook ads. We just did an internal training for our GR customers where Josh, our director of marketing, came in and taught them, what do all these numbers mean? What's frequency, right? What's cost per click actually mean? What's cost per lead? What should I be getting? What's a healthy number? And that was a great training that a lot of owners gave feedback, but like a lot of them just kind of scanned past that and just saw like, how many leads did I get and how much money did I spend? And they'll just scan past the other columns. But that's a mistake, because that gives you feedback. It actually tells you where things are broken along the path. Is it the frequency that we need to fix things? Is it how many impressions you got? Are you not getting enough impressions? Like that's where things are broken. So when we look at these numbers, you can actually have an very clear to do that, like, okay, I need to fix this on my ad. Not I'm just going to completely turn them off. Ads aren't working. Actually, those numbers give you feedback that if you just fix this thing, they will start working, right? And so again, I know it's not everyone's favorite topic. No one usually enjoys spending their Tuesday jumping into their ads manager and looking at data and metrics, but that's where you go to a group like we got a free gym owners group and ask a question. Hey guys, what does frequency mean? Can someone explain this to me? And you call a friend, you phone a friend, like call another gym owner. Hey, do you know what this means? And like you find out, you don't just skip past it and not know, right? So that's just one marketing metric, or two, I should say, is your lead source. And then what are all your numbers on your ads? Jason, is there any other like metrics in regards to marketing that people just ignore that's hurting them?
Yeah, I think there's no one topic that will scare and make a gym owner sweat more than talking ad metrics on Facebook, right? Because I can see them clam up and they're like, I don't know. But that's okay, because I always say, like, if you really haven't really spent time to educate yourself on ad metrics, it's almost like you're dumping out and trying to read the tea leaves, right? Because then you're looking through all of these numbers. What's the frequency? What's the cost per layout click and all these things, all these numbers. But there again, if you really don't know how to apply and understand them, but I always say to gym owners, that's okay. But the big thing is, you hit it right on the head, Dustin. I'm glad you put that second layer on it, is you better know where the lead sources are coming from. Like, as an owner, if you're into the KPIs, I mean, those are numbers you have to track. But if you don't understand frequency and how many times someone's seeing your image and all that kind of stuff, like, that's okay. I mean, that's why there's professionals out there. Same thing like in your gym. Let's say your big rooftop furnace goes out, right? Are you going up there with your tool belt and the ladder? Hell no, you're just going to call an expert. You're going to call an HVAC expert to go up there and fix your furnace, right? The same thing with Facebook ad metrics is, you're like, I don't understand these numbers. I need someone to do it. It's okay to hire an expert. It's okay to have a digital marketer take those services over for you. But what I always say is, you better understand the process at least. Spend time with your digital marketer, have them explain it. I always say maybe not a 10,000 foot view, maybe about like 5,000 foot view, because you still want to have them explain the numbers to you. And if it's just weekly, you want to get on a call and have them walk you through the numbers, that's okay. Because as a gym owner, when we look at our teams, I know the analogy I learned a long time ago was, right, every person on your team has to be in the right seat of the bus, right? So let's say you have a great person who comes in and applies, or super detail oriented, the great with spreadsheets. Are you going to put them on the floor to be a coach and train people with weightlifting? Absolutely not. You're going to make them an admins, right? So I'm going to do books for you, right? But you have someone come in, highly certified trainer, all that kind of stuff, right? You're not going to put them behind a desk. Same thing as an owner, is maybe that's not the best task for you to analyze ad metrics. And like I said, that's okay, because that's not the right, if it's not in your wheelhouse, it's going to be draining for you. You're going to have to physically exert yourself to try to understand ad metrics, and it'll make you sweat, and it's not going to be comfortable for you, and it's not the best value and use of your time. So there again, have an expert do it for you. So there really is. But there again, if you're an owner who's very, kind of nerds out on that stuff, that's okay. If you can dive into ad metrics, understand them and how to do that, that's great. But there again, if it's like the 80-20 principle, if you're 80% of gym owners who really don't understand ad metrics, bring someone on who's going to do that for you. But make sure whatever ad agency you're going to use, make sure they include you in the process. Because I talk to so many owners who basically take that section of the business, hand it over to an ad agency, and then they have no idea what's going on. I literally had talked to a gym owner who had no idea where his ad leads were going. The physical name, email, phone number, he had no idea where this data was housed. And to me, I was like, holy cow. But he was so far removed from the process, he had no idea where that was. So that's kind of a scary thought, because like I said, you still have to understand the process. You still have to know where the leads are going, because there again, if that agency quits or goes out, like at that particular point, that gentleman had no idea where the Facebook leads were physically located, where that information was. So make sure you know the process, but then again, it's okay to bring on an expert to do it.
Yeah. And another one that kind of came to mind as you were talking was email open rate. That's another metric that owners like just ignore. They're just like, send the email, done. And it's like, well, how many people opened it? You know what I mean? So like, was it a good email? How much deliverability did it get? And these are all things that I like. Go High Level actually shows you statistics very easily. And that way you can kind of save your winners, start a swipe file where you're like, these are my 10 bangers last year that like had the highest open rate, saved, because I'm going to send those again. These were duds, maybe I'll pass on them. But if you ignore those metrics, you'll never know. And that hurts you from evolving your marketing game. Kim, any other tips on metrics and just trying to like understand those better?
Yeah, I think echoing from both of you, something else that came to my mind when you were talking about like the email rates, it's also the time of day that people are opening things. And this is something that we talk about a lot in gym reinforcements, is when to send out messages. When are people most likely to look at an email to open it, or a text message, or answer a phone call? Is understanding those metrics as well, because it's all lumped into, your marketing and your follow-up. Is what time of day are people looking at things? Are they clicking on ads? Are they opening emails? And then Jason, like, I'm one of those owners. I know you guys are numbers guys and you love looking at the metrics, and I'm one as a gym owner who I'm not quite as there with you guys. It's all the metrics. So that's why I have a professional marketer. But I see the difference between previous marketing companies that I've worked with and then my marketer at GR. And a lot of it is the communication. I've worked with DMs in the past too. They're just like, what do you want to run? What's your offer? Great. And then crickets. Whereas my marketer with GR is telling me the performance of the ads, is telling me when we're going to do some A/B testing, is telling me when, hey, I'm adding 2 new creatives to your account. Here's why. And then what I can do is take that information, go back, and now I can make better decisions on what I'm going to run, the time of years, what's performing well, and then also tracking the conversion from those ads as well. That's the other thing you need to know, obviously, right? Like if you got a guy, Jason, who doesn't even know where to find the leads, well, how are you going to then be able to follow up with the leads, contact them, and then be able to convert them into a trial or a membership? It's all finding that flow. So tracking each one of those metrics or finding somebody who can do it really well, but then who's going to converse with you and help you understand those so you can then apply them.
And that's a lot of what GR was built off of, was data of like, hey, when do people pick up phone calls or reply to texts? It's at night when they get off work. But I never dug into that data, or anybody in our team did. We wouldn't know what is the best time. So that is all valuable stuff. All right, well, we're going to go to the 6th mistake, which is not having a marketing calendar. So I'm glad that we provide that to GR clients, but most owners are flying blind. They don't know what they're doing next month, and they kind of make it up on the fly. And so that's where essentially we want to come in and bring them that vision. Like, hey, here's what we got. You don't have to run it, but at least you got something you can lean on if you don't know what to run. We provide an offer of the month every single month. This month we have this, next month we'll have that, and we'll just keep doing that because that's like what we want to provide for our clients. So Kim, I'm going to let you start on this one. What kind of advice do you give to someone that's got no marketing calendar, no offers, no idea what to run? What do you tell them to do?
So I think the first thing is don't be overwhelmed with thinking you have to come out with a 12-month marketing calendar all at once. Have the next 1 or 2 offers lined up, because the big mistake that I see owners make is they wait until the ad is no longer performing to say, what am I going to do next? And that's going to take time to figure out, time to put up, time to get that going. And then you're constantly trying to play catch up. So even if, you don't, you're overwhelmed or you don't have the capacity to figure out 12 months in advance, totally fine. Break it down into smaller, steps, and just figure out, even if you just figure out your next offer and you want to do it, once you have your offer running, start thinking about the next offer. Is it a challenge? Is it a trial? What are you targeting? What do you want to name it? And all of that, so that this way you're prepared to just deploy it when the time comes.
Love it. All right, Jason, how about for you, man? What do you say to people with no marketing calendar?
Yeah, you have to. You kind of mentioned email open rates, right? And see what performed in the past, right? It goes the same thing with marketing. Like what really worked good in the past. And maybe it was something that you didn't really plan on, but it just hit in your market. Like, man, this did really good. And I ran this in August last year. Well, that's the no duh answer. What are you going to run in August this year? Run the same damn thing, right? Because if it hit in your market at a certain time of year, duplicate success. Because I'm glad you said that, Kim, because sometimes you're like, oh my God, this marketing doesn't work. Then you have a blank sheet of pencil and paper and you're like, oh my God, I have to come up with a new marketing plan. Because even if you've been in business for a few years, you have data of what performed in the past, what worked in your market, like what spoke to your avatar. It doesn't have to be the big home run, but it has to be something that's going to get that traction going, right? So if you could look back and say, hey, man, in August of 2023, this brought me 11 new members in. If you have nothing planned, and if you don't run that same thing again, you're crazy, because everyone on this call would take 11 new members right now. I guarantee it, right? So that's the thing is, look back at success, what's worked in the past. But I guarantee you're going to look at last year. There's going to be some turds you ran last year too. Obviously, maybe you could improve that program, but there again, you probably wouldn't want to, waste your time. But even if you're a brand new gym owner, maybe in your first year, you don't have the data, that's the time you really want to lean on a group of people like us, right? We've been around the block for a while. I still, to this day, I follow Dustin's marketing calendar, right? We still have a lot of data, but there again, the data we have that is good is times we've been in sync by following someone who's been in the business even longer, right? So we've gotten into the cadence of making sure there's strategic times we do 6-week or 8-week programs, and then it's got to be a 21-day a certain time of year. A 28-day will hit here, so like you have to have that data. But there again, like I said, if you're a new owner listening to this, all you have to do is simply reach out. I mean, we have combined on this call, I don't know how many dozens of years we have combined gym operating experience, right? Gray hairs and everything, but it's just a matter of, let us help you, really give you some, like Dustin said, we have the programs that are tried and true and they work at certain times of the year. We'd be happy to, help you with that. So don't ever think, if you're a one-man show, a brand new gym owner, just don't think like you're trying to reinvent the wheel, make the next big 21-day program is going to get you 100 members, because it just doesn't work, right? We're really just in a game of inches here in the gym industry, is making sure we're just stacking consistent wins. And don't think you're trying to write the next home run. Rely on the gym owners around us, because we're a pretty tight knit tribe and we all want to see each other succeed. So.
Yeah. And one thing I was going to point out that, not to toot our horn, but we also provide a marketing document where most agencies will just give you the title of the program and the ad copy and say, okay, we're going. We give you text to send to your database, emails to send to your database, posts to put on social media. We feed you so many additional organic, content to supplement your paid ads, because that's when we know an offer works best, is when they're both firing. And the owners who send that stuff out usually see far different results and better results than the ones that are like, oh, I never got around to sending that stuff out. I was just waiting for the ads to crank. Again, we're just not thinking of business as holistic and trying to cover all of our bases. All right, well, we'll go to our final marketing mistake, and that is poor lead follow-up. All right, a big sin in our world. We will not accept that. And marketing and lead follow-up are two peas in a pod. So you can get marketing cranking, but if lead follow-up is poor, man, you're just pissing money away. And I've even seen people really be very, very diligent with a few amount of leads and outperform someone with a flood of leads, like where they're getting like 30 leads a month and they'll get 15 or 20 of them to buy a trial. Like they get a high amount of conversions because they are on them, because leads are so valuable. It's like you're in a desert and someone's trickling a little drop of water and they're just like, just making you work for it. But then someone who's like swimming in a swimming pool every day, they're like, I have plenty of leads. We'll never run out. We're good. And they're backstroking and all the leads. And then they're just lazy. They're just like, oh, these leads will always be here. But I've seen those dry up. I've seen the swimming pools become deserts over time. Like when you're a gym in town for 10 years and you get all the information in that community, all the name, phone number, and email, you start feeling that desert constraint. So like never get in that lazy mindset, never feel like, I'm good. And, the lead flow will always be here. It dries up for everybody at some point, and you got to have, a strategy for when that date comes. We know in fitness, we use the term baby gains, right? Usually the first 1 or 2 years someone joins a gym, they get the accelerated results because their body is like a hyper responder mode. It didn't really, you haven't been to the gym in forever, and then you add workouts and it responds beautifully. But then it hits a plateau at some point, and now the client has to try new things. It has to increase intensity, it has to increase the load. Well, that's what happens with a gym. Usually the first 2 years is baby gains mode. You're doing grand opening and people are just running to you. You're the new flavor in town. And then you're like, okay, now we hit a plateau. I got to work harder to achieve the same sales goal. And you have to become more efficient with your lead follow-up to make more sales come from your leads, right? And so obviously we're a lead follow-up company. We put, remote sales reps into gyms so owners don't have to do this themselves. But I want to not hide everything behind a paywall. I want to tell people some best practices for lead follow-up. So I'll share one and then I'll let you guys share some. For me, I'm going to go back to the timing thing. I think following up with people between 11 and 2, and you're trying to work with working professionals that have a 9 to 5, you're just going about it the wrong way. Did you do it? Did you check the box? Hey, I followed up. Yes. But could you follow up at a better time? I think that is a best practice I always like to highlight. You need to contact working professionals after 5 p.m. You need to schedule some of your text automations or some of your blasts or your emails to be at 5, 6, 7, 8. Some of my best open rates are at 9 p.m. because everyone's sitting on their couch, on their phone while their TV's on. So they need 2 screens at once. And your email comes in and says, hey, I'm running this program. Do you want it? And they have their credit card. They have no friction. It's like, oh, shoot, I'm about to go into a meeting, or, oh, I'm on lunch break. Can't do it. There's zero friction to get up from that couch, grab that wallet, and buy the program right then and there. So it's like, those are the little things that people miss when it comes to lead follow-up. So that's one, kind of freebie I'll give to the listeners. Jason, what's a lead nurture best practice you'd share?
Yeah, I think the I guess I'll start one little backstory here. I recently talked to a gym owner too and talked about lead flow, and it had a really, really strong lead flow. Same thing, almost not quite backstroking, but he was comfortably waiting in the pool of leads, and same thing. I said, oh, awesome. Walk me through the lead follow-up strategy he has. And basically from the Facebook lead ad, he was relying on them basically once they opt in and give their information was basically taking a Calendly link and hoping, or he was betting on they're going to book their first session.
Mm-hmm.
Like, cool. What's the percentage of that? About 8% would book off the lead. And he was very happy with that by the tone of his voice. And I said, okay, no one books. Then what happens? He goes, oh, then we send a follow-up text with the link again. And I said, like one singular? He'd be like, yep, that's it. And that's it. And that was it. And that was really the end of the lead follow-up process. And there again, by the tone of his voice, he was very happy with the process. Because when I look at lead follow-up, I'm in a very small rural markets, right? And I'm the same thing. We have to really hold on to the leads and, basically look at two different ways. So my mind, I've always looked at, okay, there's lead follow-up and then there's lead engagement. So lead follow-up is usually it's a blind, they're just kind of spouting off things like, hey, click on this, we got to get you booked, They're not really engaging with the lead too. So what I look at is like, I'm looking at lead engagement. So if I get a new lead come in, I'm thinking first thing is how do I engage them? That means no yes or no questions. I'm not going to send them a link, right? I'm not going to really count on them doing anything that's going to require work, right? I just want to ask very simple, open-ended questions to engage them and let them know I'm just a dude, right? And I want to make sure I could just have that conversation going because lead follow-up is really as a generic term. It's kind of blank, but there again, it's a process that needs to be done at a gym, or you can have the mindset of, okay, lead engagement. Lead engagement is what we need to do because we need to engage that person because I don't know about you, but like on your cell phone election year, I mean, how many spam messages are you getting from, data research and they're trying to plug their political party and things like that? Like your spam message folder, you're kind of lumped in with them just by default. I'm sure you're an amazing gym owner and you're a great person, but to that new lead, they don't quite know you yet, right? So you have this little opening, this little ray of sunshine right now because they gave you a chance to engage with them. And that's the mindset that you have to have. If you or somebody on your team is doing that, you have to have the mindset of how to engage that person. So think lead engagement. And I think that's what so many of our sales associates do so amazing well here at Gym Reinforcements is having that engagement side. So we say lead follow-up because that's what most gym owners think, but we are making sure we train our people to think of lead engagement. How do we engage that person to take them down the path? It might take 4 texts, it might take 12, it might take 13, and it might take 5 days because that engagement takes a long time. Just like wedding engagement, you're going to engage a long time before you get married. Same really mindset when it comes to maximizing that person, that lead that you paid dollars for. You want to make sure you maximize that. So think lead engagement. That's my big takeaway.
Okay. All right, Kim, what do you kind of tell people to help them improve their lead nurture?
So my biggest thing is kind of continuing along the path of where Jason is going with it is the biggest mistake that I see people make is they're relying on somebody to book through the Calendly link. And then their first message that they send out is, hey, this is so-and-so from this gym. Here's the link to purchase the trial, or here's how to sign up. Well, if they were ready to sign up at the time, they would have done it right then and there. So understanding how people work. Yes, you're going to have a certain percentage of your leads that are going to click on your ad. They're going to sign up for your program right away. They're going to go to your website. They're done. But you also have to realize there is a certain percentage of your leads that are going to take a little bit longer and they require more nurturing. Again, going back to GR, this is something that our process does very, very well. Don't send them the first text message, trying to get them to sign up again. Don't go out straight with the pitch. Go out with something that's going to be about them so that their guard gets down. They feel like, hey, this is a person messaging me. They see me as a human. So the big one is, hey, we see that you were interested in our 6-week Moms Gone Strong challenge. What's your number one health and fitness goal? What have you done in the past to reach your goals? Are you working with a trainer? Have you worked with a trainer before? And making sure that you understand how to get those leads to engage, like Jason was saying. And if that's not something that's in your wheelhouse, you don't know how to do it, then hiring a professional who can do that for you, like we do at GR with our sales reps, who that's how they are trained to talk to people. And then understanding, again, like you look at some people right away, some people are going to take days, some people are going to take weeks. I have people who come in like, man, I've been in your system for a year. I've been getting your messages, and something that she said last week triggered me. And I'm here now because I know I need to do this for myself. So don't give up with that follow-up. Too many people send 1 or 2 messages and then that's it. You have to have a good system to keep going. Basically, just keep messaging people these great discovery questions, trying to get to know them until they either opt out or answer you and come in.
Yes, love it. And I think, again, the final thing I'll throw in there, because I know we're giving a lot of lead nurture tips, is different strokes for different folks, which means try different forms of reach outs. A lot of times we project with our preferred form of reach out, like, oh, I like to text, so I'm going to text them all. And they text and text and text, and they're not replying. Then an email blast goes out and you get a reply, or you make a call again at the right time and they can say, yeah, I can chat. So like, make sure you're just spreading your follow-up across multiple channels. Cause I've also done an audit on a gym and all their automations were text. And I do think they have a high open rate, but there are some people that are like, they're sick of texting, or they don't prefer to text, or, on their laptop all day, they rather email, or they got questions, they rather call. So that would be a final tip. So guys, we hope you enjoyed it. These were our 7 top marketing mistakes. And we just want to make sure you're not doing them on your marketing. If you want to work with us and our team, go to gymreinforcements.com, book a call. We'd love to chat with you, and we'll see you guys on the next episode. Gym owners, I want to officially invite you into my free Facebook group just for you. It's called Fitness Sales Made Simple. And essentially, I'm sharing free resources in there all the time to help you grow your business. Doesn't matter to me if you ever work with Gym Reinforcements. You can gather all kinds of cool content and tools and resources. We have free webinar trainings, free guides, free lead magnets, free scripts that you can send out to make sales. And it's all in the group. So go ahead and click on the link in the description and you could get inside and get these free tools. See you on the inside.